Hey guys. All right, we're back, and last time we saw a game of Moroxy, and for today I want to go on to Marshall, Frank Marshall, one of the most aggressive players in the early 1900s, and here we are. All right, let's see a game. So this is Marshall versus Amos Burns. And very aggressive, and we'll see some color ideas happen in these games. Okay, d4. All right, we'll read some of the notes. It's some interesting story. Notes from Amos Burn. Britisher Amos Burn was a very conservative. This is written by Marshall. Amos Burn was a very conservative player who liked to settle down for a long session of closed defensive chess. He loved to smoke his pipe while he studied the board. Okay. So we're seeing aggressive player Marshall versus Amos Bird. Okay. More defensive. d4, central dark brick. d5, central light brick. c4. A little bit of a light nibble. Trying to tickle the light squares here. Okay. e6, he's trying to rebuild, hold his structure in the center. Let's see what he writes. Burton began hunting through his pockets for his pipe and tobacco. Okay, at this point. Fair enough. Okay. This was in Paris. This game took place in Paris. All right. Knight c3. So far the battle is on light. Tickling the light squares here. Knight f6, protecting the light. Bishop g5, here we are. Bishop g5, and okay, developing the dark square bishop. Pinning the knight. Will he ever take the knight? What do you guys think? Will he ever take the knight? Or before that, what is this dark bishop doing? Always dark, right? Dark bishop is always dark, but actually not, because again, if we would take the knight, what would happen with the color money? Think, what would happen with the color money? The answer is, if the bishop ever takes the knight, we would lose dark and gain light. Is that worth it? Well, it's a bit early. I don't think it's worth it, especially since black already is solid on light. Again, if we're going to give up dark, there better be a reasonable reason for it. And right now, there's no reason that light is an important color. But we'll keep that in mind, especially this is pressure on d5. So at some point, white might want to invest in light money. Let's see what happens. Bishop e7. Here we are. So black is just developing, and this is what Marshall says. Not much thought needed on these moves, but Byrne had his pipe out and was looking for a pipe cleaner. Okay, here we are. This is interesting. It's almost like a joke, but it seems like this is really what happened. Okay, bishop e7, and now Marshall played e3. Why e3? It's making a mini bishop, getting his light bishop out. Notice whenever let's say we're white here, let's say, so we have a mini bishop. Well, when we have a mini dark square bishop, that's gonna mean that we have the ability, if we want, to give up dark. Now we have at least an option. Doesn't mean we're willing to do it. It's interesting to know when, and we'll be keeping our eyes open on these ideas, when to invest. But certainly, if before you invest, it's kind of nice to have insurance, a pre-rebuild. So we were rebuilding the dark in advance, and it gives at least us an option to at least consider taking the knight. Okay, he castles. This is an interesting example where castling is okay. This is so far all normal. It's okay, but you got to be careful if you're black. You castle early, and white hasn't committed. White can kind of castle queenside and just go crazy. That's, you do want to castle quick, but it could be a little bit early. And definitely, let's keep our eyes open for some potential on the king side. Okay. Knight f3, just developing. b6. All right. Let's talk about b6. What is b6 doing? b6 is, excuse me. b6 is preparing a fianchetto, preparing to build on light, but it also weakens light a little bit. All right, weakens light a bit. Another reason why we might consider taking the knight, investing in light. Also, this pawn is a bit of a backwards pawn. It also means his bishop is going to be out here, which means our bishop, our light bishop, is going to have a free reign on the king side. Again, what is a golden bishop? Golden bishop is unopposed bishop. When you, let's say we have the light bishop, he doesn't. It's a golden bishop. Very powerful. Big respect, big faith in the golden bishop. In this case, it's not a golden bishop, but it's like a pseudo golden bishop. So this may be something to think about from this game, that in cases where you don't have a golden bishop, but you have a bishop which is close to it, really has that dominance, and well, his bishop being out of play somewhat. All right, let's see. He plays bishop d3. I mean, if we're black, we probably should just make him lose a tempo, and then get the light energy to control the diagonal. That's pretty nice. He plays bishop e7. Fair enough. It's of course normal. Bishop e7, and now white takes. All right. Black was probably about to take. White takes. Knight. He takes with a pawn. See, in this case, it's tricky. Would you take with it? Well, you definitely don't take with a bishop. You don't want to lose the bishop like this, especially when you have weaknesses on light. So you're gonna either take with the pawn or take with a knight. Normally, like, maybe you guys could pause here for a moment. Think of the pros and cons. Taking with a pawn, what would you do? Take with a pawn, take with a knight, and pros and cons of each. And, okay, so we'll discuss this. So, pawn takes is more natural, right? You're keeping control of the center. You have the pawn in the center. There's a downside of pawn takes. It blocks the bishop, okay? It also doesn't get the, well, the bishop is blocked, but also the bishop cannot contest anything on this bishop. But also this knight, by taking with a pawn, you're actually trading bishops. Trading down is helpful a little bit. Instead, by taking with a pawn, you're burying the bishop out of play. It makes this bishop into a bit of a golden bishop. That's part and parcel of the issue. And this bishop is looming in pressure. I kind of like knight takes and trade some pieces. And if you take back with the queen, and the queen acts as a dark square bishop. Okay, so I think this game could teach us a little bit not to be so dogmatic, you know, just to kind of follow blindly, just keep the center. I think knight takes is good, and sometimes you need a little bit of wiggle room. Give him the center, that's okay. He does take with a pawn. Again, we said Burnham is a defensive player. He seems like he's playing very solid, zero risk, but it's the expression, the biggest risk is not taking one. I think he's kind of letting white have a free hand on the king side, and a lot of pressure on his king side. Okay, here he takes these, and Marshall writes, he began filling up his pipe. I speeded up my moves. Okay, it's almost like Marshall is trying to beat him to the punch. Move faster than the pipe gets lit. Okay. Bishop takes. This is really interesting, and I think This is why I picked this game as a super instructive. I think this was really, really, and I've seen this times throughout my career. I always loved this game, and one of the beautiful moments is this trade, where it really ties into heavily into color ideas. It looks strange. Bishop takes. Why would you take? What might we do instead? Before today, or before our training, maybe Queen C2, maybe Castle, maybe Rook C1, maybe even Knight E5. But he takes. Very interesting. Actually reminds me now of a game I had against Yuri Kuzabov in Iceland. This is the final round. I had made my final IM norm 2013, and so no pressure. It was the last round. There was no pressure on me, and the last round I was playing Yuri Kuzabov, who was like number 2 in the world for juniors. Very strong, 2,600 FIDE, and I had a similar thing with when I took the knight, just like that, just took the knight. The bishop takes knight, and why? We'll have to see that game. We'll put it in the Discord, and we'll talk about it as well. Okay, but for now, again, bishop takes knight. What's the color money situation? What's the color money here? Giving up the 1,000 dark. The knight is 500, 500. So we're giving up 1,000 dark and investing in 500, 500. The net result is we're losing 500 dark, but we're gaining 500 light. Okay, here we are. Why does he want to invest in light? Well, I think that he was concerned about knight e4, blocking out the bishop, trading the bishops, trading. When you trade, there's less attack. He also wanted to invest because he felt that there's already pressure on h7. But look what he does. He just very nonchalant. So again, bishop takes, and then queen c2 is fine. Instead, he played an interesting move, h4, and then here's what Marshall writes. Made him think on that one, and he still didn't have the pipe going. The threat is. Well, maybe you guys could actually think for a moment what a possible threat. It's related to the Greek gift. Let's see if you guys could see it. And the threat is he mentions is bishop takes, king takes, knight g5. So again, let's say who knows this here. Bishop takes, knight g5. And at that point, he's in a lot of trouble. If here. There's actually queen c2. Beautiful little teaser, and then you just made him. Definitely made him. There's no way he survives, right? Rook h3 followed by f3 is mate. Next move, I guess. Okay, and if king here, it looks like he's in a lot of danger. Although I wonder exactly what the best way to play. It's good for you guys to work on this. Well, what should I do? Maybe it should, certainly dangerous, but I wonder. All right. Anyways, and if he goes here, then queen h5. This is like mate. If you go here, then you take. Then you, what is it? You pull in. Oh, you take the bishop. Easy, and just everything is gone. All right. And again, certainly if he takes, he's getting mated because king back. It's check from the rook. Now there's got to be. We'd assume there's got to be mate. Check. What is it here? This is interesting too. You guys can work on this. Well, where's the mate? Oof. Where is the mate? All right, this could be maybe g6, queen e5. Oof. Anyway, certainly it doesn't look good for black, but that's something to work on. All right, and here we are. He takes h4, and now black plays g6. Can't blame him. Other options to play h6. If h6, just g4, g5, it's perfect for opening up the position. g6, what is it really doing? Putting pawns on light, stopping the sacrifice. Again, color money. What's the color money here? White's ahead on light. Again, the imbalance is a knight versus the dark square bishop. So white's ahead on light, and black's ahead on dark. Notice how white has a mini bishop against the golden bishop. And white has extra light money. Now, these pawns are rebuilding light. Okay, rebuilding light. But sometimes they could be bricks rebuilding, or they could be bugs. They could be fodder for our attack, for White's attack. I think sometimes if you can't maintain the bricks, they're not too helpful. The best way to break pawns is with pawns. How does White break down these pawns? The answer is H5. Here we are, H5, a lever. Breaking down, fighting for what's ours. Our light. Okay, and notice how we have open rook already, so it's really nice. Rook E8, take. And look, he says here, now he was looking for his matches. Okay. Queen C2. What's the idea of Queen C2? Well, looking to pressure. And maybe even sacrifice. Maybe sacrifice. King G7, probably the best option. He plays bishop back. And, alright, here we are. White to play. We're ahead on light. We could castle and double up and do very well. But he's already in. He goes for it. White to play. If you want to pause. And here we are. Bishop takes G6. Breaking in. Invest and giving up the bishop, but attacking on light. Not a coincidence. We're ahead on light. Okay, here he takes, and he says he struck a match and appeared nervous. The match burned his fingers and went out. It's interesting, whole storyline here. Okay, queen takes. And look how the light squares are well vulnerable. Knight d7, and now White continues the attack. Knight g5, threatening mate here. And close to mate here. Queen f6. He was puffing away and lighting up at last, but too late. And this is a great moment to pause. This is a nice moment of a combination. White to play and the game ends. White to play and win. Extra credit for thinking about colors, how the colors relate. And to use colors as a guide. And the answer is Rook H8. Rook H8. And he cannot take because it's pinned. He has to take with the king. Queen H7. And he says, again, the mate is on light, not a coincidence. He writes, poor burn. I think I swindled him out of that one. If he could only have got that pipe going, it might have been a different story. He took it good-naturedly, and we shook hands. Then his pipe went out. You know, pipe Dacha here. Pipe Dacha. All right, so this was really interesting. And again, looking for colors. Bishop takes f6, so nonchalant early on. And interesting how just investing in a color and going with it. And I think that's something that I think sometimes you just got to be detached and enjoy yourself. Enjoy trying things. Enjoy trading a bishop for a knight. Knight for a bishop. Seeing what happens with the colors. Enjoy. And I think that's what we can say as a bit of a focus for us. Some homework is to try it out. Try out different things. Try out different trades. And see what happens, what you can do with the colors. Win or lose, don't sweat. All right, this was interesting. Let's see if we could see one more maybe. Okay, one more Marshall game, and this was also very color based, very color based. Another short game. This is Frank Marshall versus Harry Klein in New York, 1913. Previous game was 1900, very old game. This was well old, but a few years later, 1913. Okay. This is aggressive, but a little bit of a positional twist, so we'll see. And definitely colors. Okay, d4, d5, c4. Here we are. Okay, c4, e6, yep. Knight c3. Again, same opening. Building on light, a lot of pressure on light. Okay, knight f3, developing. Bishop g5, same exact opening, kind of nice. Knight d7 he plays, all right. Developing, e3, mini bishop, preparing to develop. Castle, rook c1, okay. Rook c1 is nice. You don't necessarily want to go bishop d3 and lose a tempo. He's going to take... rook c1 is nice. There is a problem bishop here. This is good to know. This bishop is a problem bishop. And often in order to get it out, it's blocked in. Or to get it out, you have to usually play b6, which is what he did. And now the pawn is a backwards pawn. It's also weak. There's weaknesses on light. So Marshall's going to take advantage. He takes. Fair enough. You actually cannot take with a knight, because then knight takes, attacks the pawn. And then you take, and then you take the pawn. So a little bit of dark, oozing dark. The rook is light and dark here, and it tickles the dark squares. Okay, so he takes. He has to take with the pawn, which is nice, because now the bishop is... Well, the bishop could either go this route at some point or keep to this. If it goes here, it's stuck. It's blocked, and if it goes out here, there's going to be weaknesses. So this is a good decision to take after they play b6. See, if you take right away, then they play this, a nice mini bishop. Notice that now there's no mini bishop. It's kind of a loose mini bishop, even if there is. So let's see. He plays queen a4. The queen acts as a light square bishop. The queen gets involved in light. Bishop e7. Notice the last game was a mating attack. Marshall is showing that he's not a one-trick pony. He could be aggressive and in many ways, and he can play all types of positions. Here he wants to punish the light squares. This bishop is a bad bishop. It's blocked, but you know what? Sometimes this bishop is what holds the position together. So identifying when to trade. I think these games are really about trades, really looking to trade. Bishop a6 is kind of nice, where you're looking, you trade the bishops, and the queen continues to invade. Here we are. Maybe just I wonder if queen c8 was a little bit better. I wonder. Is that possible? Huh. You know, this is actually an idea I see here. This is interesting. If queen c8, the idea of queen c8 is if he takes, and then the queen helps shore up the light squares. But I believe there's a tactic. Yeah, I believe there's a tactic here. All right, this is actually a good quiz. So queen c8, what do you play as white? Yeah, maybe best not say, and you guys could talk about it in Discord. Okay, so here we are. So bishop takes, queen takes, c6, trying to rebuild light. Both sides don't have a light bishop, so black tries to rebuild light. This pawn, though, like we saw before, sometimes you make mini bishops and they're not as faithful. They're not as secure, let's say. Last game we had this was not secure, and this is very also iffy. And white castles, first things first. 94. Trades the bishops. And now there's a nice move, which really basically wins. This basically wins. How does white get in this pawn? How does white get to this pawn? Taking, not so clear. If you guys want to pause here for a moment. The answer is queen b7. He really gets involved. The queen acts as light bishop and just gets to the base of the pawn. Rook c8, and now the final knockout. White to play. Knight takes pawn. He cannot take because of the rook. Again, light. Notice how there's no imbalance here. People over the years, students have asked me, what do you do when there's no imbalance? Then what happens with colors? And then the answer is you just got to use your pieces a little bit more aggressively than theirs and spot weaknesses. This is a weakness on light. This is also light, and if this is active, and there's some inherent issues. So even though there's no color imbalance, you can fight on light. There's things that allow you to invade. And knight takes is just right. Queen d6. Okay, he's trying to hold on. Now there's another knockout. Yet another on light. This whole game has been about invading on light, provoking a light weakness, invading, trading, winning a pawn, and now white to play. The answer is rook takes c6. Very classic, but beautiful nonetheless. Queen takes, you get forked. If rook takes, I guess you could just lose this rook as well. There's also the element of, if you want, you could even take the rook and fork and be up 2 pawns. But yeah, I think you're actually taking a lot more. You come for doubles. Basically, you check, and then you take. Oof, oof. Very satisfying. Very satisfying. And it's light. You break him on light. So again, going back, this whole game, he's looking on light, like from move 1. Like it's incredible. It's like he's waiting for b6, c4, waiting for the light weakness. Rook c1 is waiting. Take, 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 take. Queen a4, trade light bishops, and then just go in for it. So I think both games are light destruction. One where the first game aggressive on the king side, a mating attack, and here it's positional. So the lesson of these games is to trade. Look see what happens. Don't be bishop takes knight. In the first game, looks strange. It's okay. You invest. And this game here, bad bishop for a good bishop. But you know what? The right time. Look, if it feels like it has a chance, you go for it. All right, and we'll hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys soon.